Hello YouTube, it's William. Welcome to a knife safety tip video. I've got a blade in the kiln and I gotta make this short, but I mentioned it in various other videos, but I wanted to kind of give some tips on whittling tips, if you will. Using longer blades, and when I say longer blades for whittling, I'm talking about blades that are probably longer than what you can reach with your finger. So if that is a 3.5 inch blade with a 4-inch handle, then that's what it is. Okay, so if I was going to whittle with, say, a knife like this, which has a 6-inch blade, then there's different grips that I have to use, because what happens is your blade is so far away from your hand, it is unwieldy. It's you can't control it. And I've always said that the first line of safety, or first key in safety using a knife, is blade control. It doesn't matter where you're pointing the blade. If you control it, you're not going to cut yourself. You cut yourself when you lose control of that blade, unless you're just kind of a little off of it and want to cut yourself, which I don't know of anybody who fits that bill. But anyway, so the closer your hand is, or your guide is, to where you're cutting, the safer that blade is. So if I was using this knife to wheedle on a stick, and here's my tri-stick that I've been just kind of polishing and playing around with, I can hold the knife here and use the very tip of the knife, okay, and do those fine cuts. Like so. See, if I was out here, then I don't have that much control over it. So move your hand up to where you're cutting at. And also, if that blade was to slip, you're only going to be cut by that much. I would rather be cut by that much than that much. Okay, so move your hands up close to where you're cutting, and you'll be a lot safer. Another thing is, you can also use, if you use your second hand on push cuts to guide, that is also a good way of controlling the blade. Again, you're placing a hand or a guide next to where you're cutting. And when I say always you're safest when your hand is closest to where you're cutting, that's what I'm referring to. Is anytime you have a guide or holding the blade or whatever closest to where you're cutting, then that's the safest that you can be. Now if you wanted to use this portion up here, then I would move my hand up as close to that area as I could, and that way I still have the control. So always remember, just because the handle is there and the palm swell is there, that doesn't mean that's where you have to hold the knife. There isn't going to be any knife police coming to arrest you because you're not holding the knife on the handle. Okay? You can hold it any way that you're comfortable with. But the closer you hold this knife to where you're cutting, the safer the blade is. Because again, if this blade was to slip, but it's less likely to slip, but if it were to slip because you're applying too much pressure on the blade, then you're only going to be cut by just that portion there. That's as far as you can be cut with that knife. Instead of a 3-inch deep wound, you're only going to have about a 1/4 inch deep wound. Okay, so that's the key. I mean, the longer you play with knives and the more you use knives, you're going to get cut. I mean, that's just a given. But we can minimize the cuts. We can use band-aids instead of surgeries if we learn how to hold the knife and learn how to use the knife. And the only way you can do that is by getting out there and whittling on a stick. Okay, so I hope you gain something by these little tips. And these are little things that you learn as you practice, and you can never have too much practice. I see people out there trying to to do all kinds of things out there, and it's awkward. It's unwieldy. So this is a tip that I've been wanting to stress again, because I mean I've mentioned this in several videos, but I wanted to actually do just a specific video about that. Handling a larger knife or a larger blade, doing whittling tasks and carving tasks, is different from using a Sloyd knife. But it can be done. It can easily be done. It's just that you have to hold the knife different. You have to go about things a little different. You have to use push cuts a little bit more. You have to hold the blade. I mean, it's one of those things that you just have to get out, whittle on stick, practice, learn these little things. All right. Okay, until the next one, you guys practice. Use these longer blades to whittle with. You can always choke up on the blade and use it as a small knife, but you can never use a small knife like a large knife. So that's why I lean toward a little bit longer knife. I like my neck knives, but they're always companion knives. I don't believe in a one tool option, but if I was going to carry one knife into the woods, it would be something about this size. 6-inch, 7-inch blade, somewhere along in there, maybe even an 8-inch blade. And like this kukri here. I mean, this is what I would, because in my area, a longer blade means that you can cut brush, you can clear trail, you can do a lot more things with a longer knife than you can with a small neck knife. It just fits my area a lot better. Your area might be different. So, but anyway, again, if you choke up on the blade, I can carve with this knife. And I can do it very well, and I can do it safely. Get out and practice these things. See if what I'm telling you is true. If you do, take plenty of band-aids and lots of knives, because you are going to cut yourself. If you use a knife long enough, you will cut yourself. We're just trying to make the cuts as small and as minimal as possible. I'd rather be cut with that than with that. Alright, till the next one, you guys be safe. We'll catch you again soon.